In today's lesson, we're going to talk about 90-degree rotations. Now, this is a little more involved and requires a little bit more thinking when you are rotating something 90 degrees, because you could rotate it 90 degrees in different directions. You could rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, or you could rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. And also, you have to be aware of the sign scheme in each of the quadrants. Remember our quadrants. This is the top right is the first quadrant. Top left is the second, third bottom left, fourth bottom right. Now the sign schemes of each of these are important, which I'll show you what I mean by sign schemes. All right, so first let's graph our figure SCI. All right, so S is going to be 1, 1. I is going to be 7, 1. Oh, C, I'm sorry, that's C. And I is going to be 4, 6. It's a nice triangle. Now, when I rotate this 90 degrees clockwise, it's going to end up 90 degrees clockwise. You're just basically rotating it one quadrant. Okay, 90 degrees clockwise. And also, keep note, 90 degrees clockwise is the same thing as 270 degrees counterclockwise. So a 90-degree rotation is the same thing as a 270-degree rotation in the opposite direction. All right. Now, when you rotate it, also it turns 90 degrees. Now, when you turn 90 degrees, say you're facing forward, you turn 90 degrees to the right. You turn 90 degrees, you face right, or you face left. So our for example, this triangle, our eye is going to be facing up. More likely, it's going to be facing right after I rotate it 90 degrees. Now, in order to do that, what you have to first do is switch the X and Y numbers. So my S prime is going to be still 1, 1. 1, 1 switches 1, 1. My C prime is 1, 7. And my I prime is 6, 4. Now, these coordinates are still in the first quadrant because they're both positive. Remember, our sign scheme in the first quadrant is the X value is positive and the Y value is positive. We want it to be in the fourth quadrant. So that means my Y values have to be negative. Remember, all points in the fourth quadrant, the X value is positive, the Y value is negative. All right, second quadrant is negative, positive, and third quadrant is negative, negative. So that's what I mean by sign scheme. So when I rotate S to S prime, I have to change all the Y values to a negative, or else it wouldn't be in the fourth quadrant. And then I'm going to graph my 90-degree rotated figure. 1, negative 1 is S prime. 1, negative 7 is C prime. And 6, negative 4 is my I prime. And just like I said before, my I, which was facing up before, is now facing right. So it turned 90 degrees. All right. So not only does it turn 90 degrees where it's at, it's rotated about the origin. So it's going to move to the next quadrant. Okay. Now let's take a look at a counterclockwise rotation. So let's look at MARK right here. So M is negative 3, negative 2. A is negative 1, negative 4. R is -3, -8. And K is -5, -4. It's like a nice kite here. So 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that means being that it's in the third quadrant here, this is the third quadrant, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So it's going to end up in the fourth quadrant. Now remember, the fourth quadrant sign scheme is the X values are positive and the Y values are negative. Okay, kind of just like how we did before. All right. So again, I flip-flop my numbers within the coordinates, and then they have to all be positive and negative. So my M prime is going to be 2, 3, A prime 4, 1, R prime 8, 3, K prime 4, 5, but only my Y values are going to be negative because the sign scheme in the fourth quadrant is positive, negative. 2, -3, 4, -1, 8, -3, 4, -5. There's my kite rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. And like I said before, 270 degrees clockwise, the same thing as 90 degrees counterclockwise. All right, let's pick I want to do one where you're going to another quadrant besides the fourth. So this is going to be in the second quadrant. Okay, well, why don't we do this one? All right, number 4. SUN, so we have -6, 2. U is -3, 7. N is 0, 2. There we go. So 270 degrees clockwise, meaning it's going to end up in the third quadrant. It's the same thing as 90 degrees counterclockwise. Now in the third quadrant, okay, remember I switched my numbers, so I'm going to do that first. I'm going to switch the numbers. All right, S prime is going to be 2, 6. U prime is going to be 7, 3. N prime is going to be 2, 0. Now my sign scheme in the third quadrant is all the numbers are negative. This is a negative, negative. All points in the third quadrant have their X value negative and their Y value negative. So I'm going to make all of these numbers a negative, as opposed to before where I just did the fourth quadrant. Oh, there's no such thing as -0, so it's just 0. All right. So the fourth quadrant was a negative just with the Y values. So it's, again, important to see which quadrant they lie into to figure out their sign scheme. So you have -2, -6 is my S, -7, S prime, -7, -3 is my U prime, and my N prime is -2, 0. Here's my figure rotated 90 degrees. So again, to recap, switch the numbers X and Y, and depending on what quadrant it's going into, you determine your sign scheme. If it goes to the first quadrant, both x and y's are going to be positive all the points. If it goes to the second, it's going to be negative positive, negative x, positive y. All right, third quadrant is going to be negative x, negative y, and fourth quadrant is going to be positive x, negative y. So if you have questions, please let me know in class. Looking forward to the next lesson.